Hi, I'm Mari, your friendly neighborhood explainer of dangerously weird ideas. Today we're tackling one of the most iconic childhood questions of all time. What would happen if you drilled a hole through the entire planet and jumped in? Spoiler, it's not as quick as an elevator ride, and no, you don't end up in China, unless you're already in Argentina. Let's imagine you've somehow done it. You've drilled a perfectly straight tunnel from one side of Earth to the other. We're talking a full, vertical shaft that cuts clean through the core, from, say, New York City straight through to the Indian Ocean. No curves, no detours, just a giant sci-fi straw through the planet. Of course, in real life, you'd be vaporized by molten iron somewhere around the outer core. Your tunnel would collapse under the crushing pressure, and the heat would toast any equipment like a marshmallow in a furnace. But we're not here for realism. We're here for science. And a little chaos. Let's also assume you're dealing with a few special conditions. The tunnel is somehow reinforced so it doesn't collapse. It's a perfect vacuum so you're not slowed by air resistance, and it goes from one point on the Earth's surface directly through the center to the exact opposite side. That's important. A straight line. Not just a deep hole, a through hole. Okay, so you step to the edge. Maybe wave goodbye to gravity, your belongings, and common sense. And then you jump. At first, gravity pulls you toward the center of the Earth. You begin to fall, fast. You accelerate at 9.8 meters per second squared, just like when you fall off your bike. But now, there's no ground to catch you. You're in free fall, and Earth is helping you out by pulling harder the deeper you go, until it stops. Wait, it stops? Yes. See, gravity's weird. It's strongest at the surface and gets weaker the closer you get to the center. That's because the Earth above you starts pulling you backward, toward where you started. Once you reach the very center of the Earth, gravity cancels out. You're weightless. You're also moving really fast, about 28,000 kilometers per hour, or nearly 17,000 miles per hour, enough to circle the Earth in about 90 minutes. But instead, you're using that speed to shoot straight up the other side of the tunnel. That's right, up. You're now climbing. Gravity is working against you, slowing you down exactly as much as it sped you up on the way down. You're basically a giant human pendulum, except instead of swinging, you're flying through Earth's insides. Eventually, you reach the surface on the opposite side of the planet, but just barely. Your speed drops to zero at exactly the edge of the hole, and then you fall back in. Why? Because you don't have anything to stop you. No brakes, no landing pad, no friction. So you fall again, this time in reverse. You accelerate all the way back through the planet, past the center again at maximum speed, and head back toward your original starting point. And the cycle repeats. Forever. Unless there's air in the tunnel. In that case, everything changes. As soon as you jump in, air resistance starts slowing you down. You reach something called terminal velocity, where the pull of gravity is perfectly balanced by air resistance. It's like skydiving, but instead of a parachute and wide-open skies, you're plummeting through a wind tunnel that goes to the molten core of the Earth. Eventually, air resistance wins. You don't make it to the other side. You fall faster at first, then slower still. You never reach the center. You never bounce back. You end up stuck somewhere in the middle, hovering weightlessly in the very heart of the Earth, like a confused meatball. Congratulations! You've discovered the world's deepest prison. Now, let's rewind again and make things slightly more realistic. What if the tunnel wasn't a vacuum, and you didn't jump? You were dropped in, maybe with a heat-resistant suit and a good playlist. First, the heat. Temperatures in the Earth's core can reach over 5,000 degrees Celsius, hotter than the surface of the sun. Then there's pressure. Millions of atmospheres of crushing force would compact you into a very sweaty pancake, long before you saw the core. Even your reinforced tunnel would buckle unless it was made of materials humans haven't invented yet. The air in the tunnel would behave strangely too. Hot air from the core would try to rise to the surface, cool air would fall, and the result would be violent atmospheric turbulence, basically a vertical hurricane inside your tunnel. Also, don't forget the rotation of the Earth. If you drilled a tunnel straight through and jumped in, You'd carry the angular momentum of your starting point. Near the equator, the Earth spins at about 1,670 kilometers per hour. As you fall toward the center, the radius of the Earth gets smaller, and just like an ice skater pulling in their arms, your spin speeds up. That difference in momentum would slam you into the walls of your tunnel unless it somehow curved to match the Earth's rotation, which it won't. So in real life, you'd get thrown sideways with terrifying force, probably bouncing off the walls like a pinball until you were a smear of regrets. But remember, we started with a perfect imaginary tunnel and no friction. In that world, you'd oscillate back and forth through the Earth like a giant Newton's cradle. And eventually, something would ruin it. Maybe tiny bits of air, maybe seismic shifts, maybe someone filling the hole with concrete because you left it open and people kept dropping their phones in. So what's the final answer? In a perfect vacuum, with no friction or air, you'd fall straight through the Earth and emerge on the other side in about 42 minutes. You wouldn't fly off into space. Gravity would pull you back. And unless someone caught you, you'd keep swinging through the planet forever. It's like bungee jumping with no rope, and your anchor is a 13,000-kilometer ball of molten rock. The good news? You'd get a great view, for a moment. The bad news? You'd also get very dizzy, and very dead if you tried this in real life. But it's fun to imagine. Anyway, that's enough hypothetical planetary gymnastics for today. I'm Mari, and if you ever see someone digging a suspiciously deep hole in their backyard, maybe don't jump in. Unless they've invented the frictionless vacuum tunnel of science fiction dreams. Then, maybe take a look, but bring a parachute.